No one wakes up one morning and plans to be here. You know what I mean by here? It's that place you never imagined you'd be. The job that feels too small, the city you didn't choose, the season of life that just doesn't make sense, or the waiting you never asked for. I think most of us, at some point, look at where we are and quietly wonder, how did I end up here? Some call it bad luck. Others blame people, or maybe they blame themselves. And some might even assume that God must have stepped away for a moment. But what if here is not a mistake? What if you're exactly where you're supposed to be? There was a man named Samuel N.T. who asked himself this same question every single day. He used to have these huge dreams. He wanted to do meaningful work, to be seen, to feel like he mattered. But life, as it often does, led him somewhere else entirely. He found himself in a small town, living a quiet, routine life. He had a job that paid the bills, but it didn't come close to touching his real passion. Every morning, Samuel would stand at the exact same bus stop, watching people rush past him, heading toward lives that seemed so much more important than his own. And he would tell himself, I was meant for more than this. So, why am I here? He prayed, but not with faith. It was a prayer filled with frustration. He'd say, God, if you have a plan for my life, you must have lost the map. But what Samuel couldn't see was just how closely God was watching him. At that very same bus stop, every single morning stood a woman named Miriam. She never spoke, she never smiled. She just stood there, carrying a heavy burden that no one else seemed to notice. But Samuel N.T. noticed. One day, he offered her a simple greeting, just a good morning. She just nodded. The next day, he asked her how she was doing. She paused for a moment and then said, fine, but in a way that told him she wasn't fine at all. Days turned into weeks, and their small conversations started to grow. Then, one morning, Miriam broke down. She told him about the night she had almost ended her life. She told him how the bus stop was the last place she came before work every day, fighting thoughts that she couldn't seem to silence on her own. Samuel just listened. He didn't preach. He didn't start quoting scripture. He just stayed there with her. And that day, Miriam decided to stay too alive. It was in that moment that Samuel N.T. began to understand something profound. God rarely explains why we are placed in a certain situation. Instead, he reveals it through the people we are meant to touch. The job that Samuel hated had taught him patience. The small town he resented had taught him the power of being present, and the bus stop he had always ignored became holy ground. He realized he wasn't there by accident. So many of us believe that purpose has to look like a big stage, a microphone, or a fancy title. But more often than not, God hides our purpose in places that feel ordinary, uncomfortable, or even limiting. Think about it. Joseph didn't choose to be in a prison. Esther didn't choose to be in exile. David didn't choose the lonely fields to tend sheep. But God chose every single one of them right there in those very places. Because where you are is what shapes what you carry. Your current position may not be your final destination, but it is your training ground. It's the place where you're being prepared for what's next. You might be exactly where you are right now for a reason. Maybe someone there needs your kindness. Maybe someone there needs your patience. Maybe someone there needs to see what faith looks like when it's lived out, not just preached about. Or maybe God is shaping you for what comes next, and if He moved you too early, you would arrive completely unprepared. Months later, Samuel N.T. was still standing at that same bus stop, but now he saw it completely differently. He no longer asked, "Why am I here?" Instead, he started asking, "Who am I sent to?" And that one question changed everything for him. So if you're listening to this and you feel overlooked or misplaced or just plain stuck, I want you to hear this clearly. God does not waste locations. He does not misplace people, and He never abandons a purpose halfway through. You are not where you are because your life went wrong. You are there because God is still working. He's working in you and He's working through you. Your story isn't over. So stay faithful in the small things. Stay available for the opportunities you can't yet see. And stay open to the possibility that right here, right now, might be the very place where your purpose truly begins. Thank you so much for watching. If this message resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more videos like this. We'll see you in the next one.